Once we've reviewed our patterns and we have everything the way we want it, we can go in and create our DXF output files for our cut patterns. So I'm in the pattern environment and I'm going to come over and click on output. Now let's give this information here a quick review before we click write, which will write out all of our patterns. So compensations, for this model, I haven't entered any compensations, but if you have, those values will display right here, so you can check and make sure those are what you want. And these patterns are also going to be flattened using the triangulation method. And that's because that is how we created these patterns. Squashed, we can only squash these patterns if we created them by element, which is one of the add methods when you create patterns. And we just did not use that method for this model. So this is what I want, triangulate. And then you got a bunch of other information here, like for example, closed corners. This is really handy. This will close the corners of all of your polylines. I always like to have that checked. And then we come down and take a look at the actual files we're going to get. So I have this set up the way I want it right now. So we're going to get our cut patterns, and I'm going to have all of those in a single file. If you want, you can uncheck this and get each one of those in its own separate file. I don't need an exploded assembly. I'll leave that off. Uncompensated set, again, I didn't put any compensation in this, so I don't need that as well. I'd like to take a look at a marking plan. I'll just show you what that looks like, so I have that checked. Then you can also get a text file or a summary file if you like. So then down here, we've got our pattern range. It automatically reads in all of my patterns, 1 through 14. And now I can just go ahead and click write. And when I do, you'll see it writing out each of my patterns right down here at the bottom. Let's click write. There we go. Now it's writing them all out. Perfect. And it's now finished. I'm going to go ahead and click finish and close NDN and go ahead and open up the DXF output files and show you what those look like. Let's start with our cut patterns. And here's that file. I've got all of my cut patterns in one file just as I requested. If we zoom in on the bottom corner down here, you just get a table with some basic information. Quick summary of this file. Now let's take a closer look at one of these patterns just as an example. So you notice I have a bunch of information displayed here. And the reason that's so is because in NDN, when I came in and I went into my pattern setup for DXF output layers, I went ahead and I told NDN I want all of this information. So if your patterns look a little cluttered and you would like less information, just come in and turn off some of these boxes and either rewrite your output files or do this before you create your output files the next time around. Click OK. Go back to my files. So let's zoom in here a little more. So I have everything displayed. I've got the lengths of my edges. I've got the polylines running around the perimeter of my patterns with the positive and negative offset for all of my seam types. I have displayed the 2D triangles used to create these patterns, as well as the warp orientation, the name of each pattern. Pretty much everything is here. I've got my corner nodes. I even have corner node numbers. So I have all of this information displayed. And if you want all of it here, just so you have it, make your settings in NDN exactly what I had, and then you can always come up in your layers over here and turn off any of these layers you don't want to see. So those are our cut patterns. Now let's jump over and take a quick look at the marking plan just to show you what that looks like. So a much simpler looking file. Again, if we zoom in down here, you've got a basic table with some information about the file. And then you just have your patterns laid out in order, just like they would be on the real structure in 3D. So it's something you can take a quick look at. Just a nice marking plan there for you to see what everything looks like. So that is the marking plan. We've gone over the DXF output cut patterns. These patterns can go ahead and be cut.